We got the Vigilante team right here, and it's going to be a new Daredevil, Punisher rework, and Elektra rework, and some others. Let's get into the post, which has the kits. Vigilantes. They don't carry badges. The local law enforcement has orders to arrest them on site. But you won't find a tougher and braver bunch to knock down the threats than the Vigilante team. This squad of lethal crime fighters is composed of a brand new Daredevil, so it's not a Daredevil rework, Silver Sable, and the community vote winner Hitmonkey. That was September of last year when that got voted in, along with the familiar faces of Punisher and Elektra getting reworks. Vigilante team thrives in office situation and is specifically setting their sights and senses on skill raids. So there is a new upcoming raid that is coming out. That was mentioned in a strike time video from yesterday. My understanding is that it's coming out sometime around the 27th, towards the end of the month, which will have more information on upcoming blog. Today, we're covering the capabilities of the ferocious and efficient crew. So this is going to be tied largely around vulnerables. Vulnerables now with even more benefits. Enemies with vulnerables have always been victim to increased damage and attacks, but with the Vigilante team, vulnerable becomes an even greater strategic advantage. The new Vigilante recruits not only make enemies with vulnerable pay, but the rewards their allies for pasting the battlefield with it. Daredevil Modern heals himself and Vigilante allies whenever an enemy with vulnerable is attacked. Even more so in raids, he also lowers the damage of enemies with vulnerable when he's on offense. Silver Sable. When an enemy with vulnerables is attacked, she feels speed bar for herself and Vigilante antis. I'm hoping that feels like the way that symbiotes did in raids, where it was like a strategy of gaining turn meter. Like, it was so much fun with Carnage Passage to target enemies to get the turn meter train rolling. I just really did like that. I felt like it was a puzzle. Maybe this will be like that. We'll see. Hitmonkey. Whenever an enemy with vulnerable takes a turn, if his health is full, he attacks the enemy with the highest health, ignoring taunt and stealth for piercing, and then applies more vulnerable. He also gains crit damage if any enemy has vulnerable, and each enemy that has vulnerable, he gains crit chance. I'm guessing that like Raider is going to be pretty good on these, because Raider just applies vulnerable but doesn't actually take it away, like Striker actually removes the vulnerable. Or maybe there'll be skirmishers. We'll have to see. New recruits have plenty of vulnerable outside of the ISO 8's help, and the team as a whole can make attacks extra painful with vulnerable hanging over a target's head. Of course, there are teams and ways of mitigating that. Even some of the ISO 8 can get rid of vulnerable at this point. Even though the Vigilante are a skill raid team, their traits and kits set them out to pound enemies while on offense across game modes. Offensive bonuses, both Daredevil, the new Daredevil, and Silver Sable have offense bonuses that reduce enemy potency, taunt, and terrorize. The Man Without Fear, Daredevil Modern, absorbs enemy attacks via taunts, uses special ultimate and passive abilities, while the rest of his team utilize multi-target attacks to mow down raid waves and clobber teams. Hitmonkey allows a squad to reload quickly by dishing out ability energy when enemies are eliminated. So, Daredevil, Hero, City, Skill, Protector, Vigilante, Speed, 118. So, City is slated to be the first G20 roadblock for the Professor X, and the in-game messaging said that they were suggesting Vigilantes and or Blade and Oath. Well, so we'll have to see how that plays out. I'm not anxious to be the first to try it. We'll let some big spenders figure it out. Let's go to the passive first. Born Again on spawn. This character has 4 more Vigilante allies, gain taunt for 2 turns and safeguard for 1 turn. So only on a full team. Apply 2 deflex, defense up for 2 turns, immunity for 1 turn itself on all Vigilante allies. When the enemy with vulnerable is attacked, heal self and all Vigilante antis for 5% of this character's max health. And in raids, heal for 20% instead. Clear 1 negative effect from self and all Vigilante allies. Vigilante gain 100% accuracy. Gain 25% block chance per Vigilante ally. Okay. That's interesting. So he's going to be blocking a lot. Wow. Gain 15% block amount per Vigilante ally. That's going to mess with negative effects landing on him also. Interesting. If his character has 4 more vigilante allies, this character and all vigilante allies cannot gain bleed. On offense, if his character has 4 more vigilante allies, lower the damage of enemies by vulnerable by 30%. This will not stack with other effects such as offense down. Let's do the ultimate. 4/6, so not going off turn 1, going off turn 2. Attack primary and adjacent targets for damage. Apply 1 vulnerable up to a maximum of 5. Clear all negative effects from self and all allies. Gain time for 2 turns. Apply defense up for 2 turns. Immunity for 2 turns to self and all vigilante allies. Heal self and all vigilante allies for 20% of the character's max health. Special Law and Order. Energy cost 4/4. Apply slow for 2 turns. Defense down for 2 turns. Offense down for 2 turns to primary target. Attack primary target for damage. Bonus attack for primary target for damage. In raids, flip all negative effects and positive effects on self and all vigilante allies. Heal self and all vigilante allies for 50% of this character's max health. Gain time for 2 turns and defense up for 2 turns. Then we got the basic. Let's see what we got here. Primary target for damage, rebound chain for 2 adjacent targets. Flip negative effects to positive effects on self and all vigilante allies. Attack primary target for damage. Flip 3 negative effects to positive effects on self and all vigilante allies. Wow, that's a good candidate right there for a striker attack. We'll see if that becomes an option given that the team somewhat depends on vulnerables being out there. We'll see if that would actually be worth doing or not. Also, I was just thinking about this. Like, I feel like in some ways, like raid teams, we really don't have a choice. Like, if we want to progress with our alliance and get through the raid nodes, and I'm guessing that gear tier 20 is going to be tied to these new raids. Like, I feel like this is not like optional. And so I really do hope that there's some value in this team outside of just a skill raid lane and not good anywhere else. We'll have to see though. All right, Silver Saber a little bit faster. Again, we got City right there. Let's go to the passive. In raids, on spawn, fill speed bar by 15%, 5% speed bar per vigilante ally for self and all vigilante allies. An enemy that has vulnerables attack, fill speed bar by 50% for self and all vigilante allies. Boy, just in raids though. On successful attack by this character, apply defense down to each attack target. On offense with this character has 4 more vigilante allies, lower enemy dodge chance by 100%. This character has 4 more vigilante allies. Enemies cannot gain depth proof. Wow. Oh, I don't know if this guy's going to get used outside of raids so far, the way that's reading right there. Energy cost 6/6. Apply heal block for 2 turns and disruption for 2 turns to all enemies. Clear barrier from all enemies. In raids, clear charge from all enemies. On offense, if this character has 4 more vigilante allies, reduce the duration of all positive effects by 2 and all enemies. Attack all enemies for damage. Apply vulnerable. Cool. I like that a lot. And that kind of reminds me of what they first did that with New Warriors, or New Warriors, one of the teams that does that. The raids, apply trauma. Apply ability block for 2 turns. Extra focus. Okay. This seems so very raid specific. Energy cost 5/5. And raids, clear barrier from all enemies. All right. Flip all positive effects and negative effects on primary adjacent targets. Check primary adjacent targets for damage. Apply slow and bleed. And then the ISO attack right here. Damage, flip 3 positive effects and negative effects. Attack primary target for damage and flip 3 positive effects into negative effects. Well, see, I feel like the other one is better over here on Daredevil, but still, you know, this is great. And all vigilante allies, but still, I feel like that is a one that would be a contender. Typically, the faster characters on the team are not striker, so maybe Daredevil will be a striker. We'll have to see. But I do think leaving the vulnerables out there where striker gets rid of him. Hit monkey 128, so probably right after Silver Sable. We'll see. Passive on turn or enemy with vulnerable turn, so this is not specific yet. This character health is full. Well, that's a thing. Take the enemy highest health, ignoring taunt and stealth for piercing. Apply 1 vulnerable up to maximum of 5. All right. If his character's health is not full, heal self with the character's max health. Okay, that's cool. Actually, I like that. So if he's not pinging, he's healing. Of course, if he doesn't have heal block. On enemy death, generate 1 ability energy for self. In raids, do that for the vigilante. Fine. So he's the battery on the team. While enemy has vulnerable, gain crit damage. So there's a Raider candidate right there. For each enemy that has vulnerable, gain 5% crit chance up to maximum of 25. This character has 4 more Vigilante allies. Non-mythic enemies cannot have their speed increased except by positive effects. Oh, hold up. If this character has 4 more Vigilante allies, non-mythic enemies cannot have their speed increased except by positive effects. So that's kind of a big deal right there. So that is speed stat, not speed bar. So that right there will affect teams that get boosts, like the way that Havoc gives speed stat to Starjammers and Man-Thing to Night Stalkers and Nimrod to Orcus. So that is, I think the other one that is similar to that would be the new Emma, but it's contingent on a full team. That's actually pretty interesting. That might be of high interest against certain matchups. We'll have to see. 6/6 attack primary target for piercing, apply stun and trauma for 2 turns. That's pretty good. Bonus attack the enemy with the highest damage and glowing taunt and stealth for piercing and raids. Apply stun for 1 turn, trauma for 2 turns. Still pretty good. Speed up for 1 turn, offensive for 2 turns for self and all Vigilante allies, and 1000% extra focus for this attack. You have my attention, Hit Monkey. You have my attention. 4/4. Attack primary target. Apply vulnerable up to maximum of 5. Prolong the duration of all negative effects by 1 up to maximum of 3. Chain to targets within 2 spaces, so it kind of bounces around. That's nice. Less likely to get stuck behind a stealth, stopping the chain or whatever. Apply 1 vulnerable up to maximum 5. Prolong the duration of a negative effects by 1 up to maximum 3. Gain crit damage against targets that have vulnerable. Counterattack to bring the chain. This screams Raider, 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 Raider. And then lastly, the basic and the ISO. Damage, apply 2 bleeds. This character has 4 or more Vigilante allies. Prolong the duration of all negative effects by 1 up to a maximum of 3. Attack, do the same thing. It does the same thing. If this character has 4 more Vigilante allies, prolong the duration of negative effects by 1 up to a maximum of 3. Again, I feel like most of this reads Raider, but I think you can make a case for Striker if you wanted to. We'll have to see after we play it. Punisher. Massive gains. Look at that. Health stat by, you know what? They could do something funny for the Strike First anniversary. They could have given like Shield Medic 1000% stat increases for the week of whatever. It wouldn't have mattered that much. They're so power crept. So the basic now will chain. Cool. Grenade launcher. Transfer 3 positive effects excluding time from primary target to self, so basically strips away. And then all Vigilante, all military allies. Okay, great. Damage increase. Ultimate, which was AoE. If this character has 4 more Vigilantes, clear barrier from all enemies. Attack primary target for piercing. Attack all enemies for piercing. Okay, let's see what the passive is. Not a lot of difference. Oh my god, did they just this, okay, when the enemy attacks a Vigilante, so this is a retaliation mechanic. Character has 4 more Vigilante attacks. Attack the enemy for piercing. When a Vigilante or defender ally uses their special ability, attack the most injured enemy for piercing. On hit, apply vulnerable up to maximum 5, and raids, apply bleed. That's kind of useful. Character deals an extra 50% damage to any villain enemies. All right. So I don't know, man. That's kind of weak sauce, but whatever. We'll see what happens. Massive stat increases. Elektra. All right. What do we got here? Passive. Well, let's just read it from the beginning, I guess. Extra damage applied to bleed. Gain extra focus for this attack. Okay, so they just got rid of the Shadowland Defender thing. Piercing, apply to vulnerable up to maximum 5, clear 5 positive effects. All right, more vulnerable access right there. All right, ultimate, vital strike, clear barrier from the primary target. In raids, gain damage per negative effect on the target. Attack primary target for damage. Piercing, applied 2 disrupted for 2 turns. Gain extra focus with attack and raids. Primary targets 3 more vulnerables. Attack deals double damage on kill. Fills speed bar by 80%. So this is fun. I mean, for like, I actually think this could create a fun PvE raid experience. You know, targeting and timing this to do a lot of damage and getting turn meter and kind of chaining. I kind of like it. Like I said, I was a big fan of the way Carnage passive worked. On spawn, apply evade to self and all adjacent vigilante. So this is going to be where placement matters on this. This was always a thing before with Elektra. Shadowland and hand allies and rage generate 5 ability energy for self and all vigilante allies on death. 15% chance to revive with 100% of the character's max health. This is kind of nice because then doesn't make timing the node as important. Like saving ability energy to the end, and also this makes simming the node easier. On death, 50% chance to revive with 100% of this character max health. This character has 4 or more Shadowland or Vigilante allies gain 85% chance to revive on death. All right. Hitmonkey looks a little interesting. The rest of it seems kind of okay. That's all I can say. I don't know. We'll have to play it, right? It's a raid team, so you know, for me, wanting to participate in raids means I kind of got to do it. I don't have to. I don't have to do anything. I'm heavily incentivized to do so. Bye for now.